Right in front of the congregation. Yeah, right in front of you. Don't touch that table.
I want to apologize to everybody in here because I am pregnant. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah.
Hey everybody, so I'm quite sure we have all seen that video that I had the little tiny bit of a clip from, and before this app is over, I would like to tell you how I once was that girl. All right, so picture it. 1995, I moved out because I thought I was grown and I wanted to go do grown things with my friends. By the summer of 96, I was pregnant and unmarried. So I grew up Pentecostal, Kojic, Church of God in Christ, till the day I die. And because of that, I knew that there were certain things that were going to happen. We had a very traditional church at the time, and I just kind of knew what was in the cards for me. So I was in the choir. I was the church secretary. I had a lot of positions, and also I was the activities director for like Vacation Bible School. And to make all of it a little bit more interesting, my grandfather was my pastor. Yeah. So talk about being held to a higher standard. It was a lot, and my family was very influential. He was our superintendent of the Sunday school department in our jurisdiction, so it was a lot. And I was the oldest granddaughter and like the first person to kind of do this. Okay, so what I did was I stopped going to choir rehearsal because back in the day, if you didn't go to choir rehearsal, you couldn't sing. Boom, problem solved. So I couldn't sing. And then I started getting to church late, so I couldn't do the announcements, but I was still taking the minutes, things of that nature. I finally had to talk to my grandparents both in his office and tell them what was up. And he said, okay, so when can you resume your duties? And I said, oh, after Easter. And he was like, Easter? It was the summer. And I silenced myself. Now, my daughter was born in the spring of 97, and I thought everything was gravy. I went back to doing some things like announcements, things like that. I never got back in the choir because she was little and I would need somebody to watch her. And because I was the recording secretary, I would have to take down names and such of new members. One Sunday in the summer, I think it was June or July, we had some new members join. I went up to record their names and, kind of welcome them. And my grandfather says, and as we all know, Sister Jenkins has added to the membership as well. And I knew at that moment, oh, okay. So he said whatever it was he said. I blacked out, and he handed me the microphone. Now, mind you, this is a practice that has happened with all of the girls before me, everybody, generations before me. And I took the microphone, and true to me and who I am, I gave the most unapologetic apology ever. I said, God has forgiven me, and you will too. Handed the microphone back, smiled, and went back to my seat, fuming on the inside. Never did anything outward. And after church, he came over our house. I was at my mom's. He came to our house and he said, hey, I know that you did not want to do that, and I could not give you a heads up because I knew you wouldn't come. And I said, bingo, buddy. But he said I had to do it. And as we were talking, I realized why he had to, because it would have put him in a weird position with it being me to not do it. And you've done it to everybody else's daughter, everybody else's granddaughter, everybody else's sister, everyone else who had ever had a child out of wedlock. So I understood why he did it. It definitely would have caused dissension in our church. But I will say that after that Sunday in 1997, he never, ever had anyone else do it again. It was in that moment when it was me, the princess, the oldest granddaughter, that he realized this is barbaric and this is going to cause problems. And I can say he was amazing in stopping that. Now, the church members never had a problem with them. They all, after that, kind of saw me as one of them, and they always loved me. I never had a problem with them. Did have one problem with a family member who threw out the dreaded word and said to me, how dare you bring a bastard into the family? And I said some things back to her that I probably shouldn't have said, but you don't say that to somebody. And it was that sentence, I think, that put this thing on me where I had to overdo and overperform. I always made sure my child was the cleanest, the most well-dressed, the most well-behaved, all that kind of stuff, because I just felt like everybody was watching. And I noticed that women in those positions who have had that happen to them usually do one of three things. One, you're going to go above and beyond to make sure that you are overcompensating for a stain that you feel like you have. Especially after reading the Scarlet Letter, you're going to go overboard thinking that you need to hide that. Two, you are going to say, well, I did it, I'm out here, I'm a lost cause now, and just run wild. Or three, you're not going to care. I chose option number one. But what I can say is that my child has been the greatest blessing of my life. The reason why I do everything, I did put my life on hold so that I could properly parent. And right when it was time for her to go to college, I was thinking, how can I tell her to go? And I did not. So I went to college and I got a bachelor's. Then I turned around and got a master's. And I have tons of other certifications and qualifications. And it is because of that child that I do everything I do. So I will say this to anybody out there who has any type of stigma or anything that they feel bad about. Because let's be honest, it's not just sin. It's not just the fornication. It's also some of the other things that are going on that people don't talk about. Anybody out there who feels like this, you don't have to worry about man forgiving you. You just got to worry about God forgiving you. And if God forgives you, don't care what other people think. To this day, I can look back and be thankful for this, but I will say in this particular situation with this young lady, I do feel as if the guy is in the church too, he should be held accountable as well, and not just be allowed to say, oh, it's not my baby, and run off and shirk his duties or his punishment as well. I do not agree with this practice. Although I grew up with it, I do not agree with it. I never agreed with it. And I'm glad that it stopped for my people, and I was the one to stop it. I pray that her church cuts this out. But if they were going to have her do it, they should have known to cut the cameras at that point, because it's not like somebody didn't see she was pregnant. It's kind of visible. But I will say this to anybody out there who feels a little bit of shame for something you've done. You forgive you, God forgive you. They will eventually, and if they don't, that's all right. Grow and be better.